So you spelled it with a P. That's cute because it's a B. Blumpkin, yeah. Like a, I don't know where the umpkin comes from. I feel like we need a referee here. I think we need to go to the booth.
Does he pay to get his balls trimmed?
There ain't nobody texting emojis about making eggplant parmesan. It's there because they want it to be a big old swan.
I feel like with the intro, like I need to be doing stuff before we go live. Like I want to act like a newscaster, and like shuffle some papers and like do stuff. I always grab my phone and look at my phone. I'm like, oh, 10 seconds. All right, I'm good. And then I just,
Yeah, you just need some papers to just be like,
right. Yeah.
Maybe just pay your wife to come in with a little powder brush and just be like, and then pull that little tissue paper thing they put on your neck.
So
we're
at the
live.
last second. Right. Yeah, I should have it come and get the shine off of my head.
You know what? I've come to enjoy it. It's fine. Now, it's not like you're putting any extra like product or wax or anything like. It's your skin, right?
That's just normal skin. And actually, what's amazing is like, it's pretty long right now, hair wise. I got like probably 2 or 3 days of outgrowth. Wouldn't know it on the pod.
Yeah. So when I used to intern for a radio station, I was starting to go bald, but you couldn't tell normally. But then when the hot studio lights were on my head, it highlighted where I was going bald. So I'm pretty sure I might even still be trying to hang on to what I have if it wasn't for that gig, because I saw like the playback of the videos and I'm just like, oh no.
I think every guy who's bald who made the choice to like cut it has had has gone through the same thing, and they've seen a picture or a video of themselves and they hadn't seen one in a long time and they went, wait, that's what it looks like? Because I had the same thing. I was in a wedding and they did like a picture from above, and we were all lined up, and it's just like hair, bald, me. I'm like, I have it though. I feel it.
It doesn't matter when that high beam is on you. Those hairs just like they're like they hide. They're not there.
Next weekend I was completely shaven, so I'm done with that.
Yep. And then there's all these different complications that come along with it that people don't realize. Like I didn't have anything, even though I didn't have that much up there. Your head still sweats. Right?
Yeah.
When you go through like rigorous activity, and then you really don't have anything to catch it until
sweat.
Which is why I enjoy my nice bushy eyebrows, because they catch it before it hits my eyes.
Yep. I have sweatbands. So like when I work outside in the summertime, they're usually not like actual real sweatbands though. It's usually like I've got a whole stack of just work t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And I have probably half that still have sleeves, and I have another half that I cut the sleeves off. Well, when you cut the sleeves off, you have the sleeve left over. Perfect sweatband. Right. That's what I use. Because it's a real thing. Sweat just drips down your eyes, and then it's in your eyes, and it stings, and it's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you've got the issue that I had. So our last house, our first house that we bought, we apparently got the wrong paint, because whenever I would bump. Like my head would bump the wall, you have all of these skin oils that you never realized were being like either absorbed or just hidden or guarded by your hair. And so I don't know if you experienced this, but it was a combination of me being recently bald and us having like bad paint, because I would bump up against the wall and there's this huge like grease, and I'm a clean guy. Okay. Yeah. Let's just say that, but there was this big ball of oil that would stick to the wall, and we couldn't wash it. Every time we wash it, we'd be wiping the paint away. And so like we've got all these weird, my head was bald, we got bald spots on all the walls, and it was just a weird
So I feel situation. Like we're missing an element to this story, because you said it's a combination of bald and bad paint. I can't think of a time I rubbed my head along the wall. What are you doing that you're hitting your head against the wall?
Well, I can think of one right off the top. It's just like reaching behind a TV to plug in a cord or whatever, or reaching down and behind a couch and grabbing something that fell.
Yeah.
It wasn't a regular occurrence, but it was so like jarring when it happened because it would leave such a big spot. I'm just saying, let's not go down the rabbit hole of why I was bumping my head against the wall. It was just a big inconvenience.
Yeah.
It
Understood.
was a huge inconvenience. So it's been a little bit since we've been on, but any crazy major developments? I know I've talked to you a little bit, but still
No.
working your job, still going on vacations all the time, somehow
Yep.
still able to hold down that job while you're going on all these vacations.
Yes, we go to Vegas in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I think we leave
Now,
the 24th.
Are you a gambler when you go?
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes, I'm a gambler. I've only been to Vegas twice. Once as a kid, we went to we did the Grand Canyon, Hoover Dam, all that stuff. So we flew into Vegas and left from Vegas, but only slept in Vegas one night. And obviously, I was high school, so I couldn't do anything, right?
Mhm.
But I went back one time for work a long time ago and was broke at that time. That was like 2012 era. Was completely broke, so didn't have any money to gamble with. But I am a gambler now, and I will gamble in Vegas. I don't know where, probably just in the hotel that we're staying in. I know people like travel and they hit different spots, and certain casinos got better games than other casinos, but I only play blackjack, so
I was just gonna say I'm guessing you are a blackjack player.
yeah.
Mhm.
I've never played, I shouldn't say never. I've played less than $10 worth of slots in my lifetime. I've never played roulette. I've played craps once, and I would play craps again, but I don't know how to play. And like when I
Right.
played it the first time, I was with somebody who knew, and they taught me, and I got it while I was there, but then it's been like years since that night, and I've completely forgotten, and it's too intimidating to walk up by myself to try to figure it out.
It is. What? So I feel like if you're going to try a new game, you should do it at like a local casino.
Yeah.
Going to Vegas and trying craps for the first time is really intimidating.
Yeah. Or you could probably even do like a simulator, right? Like just like a free, like I get, you see the advertisements for the slot games all the time on your phone where it's just
Yeah.
fake money. I bet they got like craps games, right? Where you play with fake money just to learn the rules. You could do something like
Yeah.
that.
I suppose, but I think I never think about learning how to play craps until I walk up and I go, "Oh, there's a craps table."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know how to play."
I mean,
This is
it was fun. I remember that. Like I would never play it to make money, right? But like when you're in a group, it's definitely fun because it's like a group activity.
well,
And
and
there's
you're
lots
making
of
other people money
right. And
too.
there's lots of cheering and stuff like that.
Yeah, anytime you see it in movies or TV, it's a big like. There's people all around the table, so
Right.
like that's fun.
Right. And typically, like on like blackjack, like I've played blackjack and I've sat in my seat and I've gone on a run and just made a ton of money. And the person
Mhm.
next to me has made no money and almost lost everything. Like it can be a completely different game for the person next to you. But it seems like in craps, if you're making money, everyone's making money,
Yeah,
you know?
right. All right. So I came across this little video, and I wanted to know. I wanted to know what would Erickson do. Okay.
All right.
So the reason, before I get into the video, the reason I want to know what you would do is because I feel like even though we have a lot in common, you very often would do the opposite, or something that would surprise me. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. I see. I just don't know on this one. So all right. So this is just a TikTok video. So here it is.
Oh, we want me here. Hey, we got trouble in here. We want me here. Hey, we got trouble.
by saying, I don't know what you can see. Mine's a little laggy. So if you
Mine's
see, so the
leggy
lady,
too. But I
what's
think
that?
I've seen this. The gator gets her hand, like barrel rolls her, and
Yeah, so this is a tank where the gator lives, or at least is on display for this little demonstration. The
yep,
lady handler gets her hand, it bites her hand, starts doing that death roll.
yeah,
And um, so she's getting stuck. So let me try and play one more time so we can see like the end of it, because I don't know if it's not even tracking. There, let's see.
yeah. So he's on it.
So somebody from the audience jumped on
Yep.
it, and my first. So I sent this video to my wife, and we talked about it later that day. She told me she would be furious if I were the one that jumped on this alligator. Like, this lady's hand is stuck in this gator's mouth, and this dude just jumps and mounts the gator.
Yeah.
Which, at first, when you look at it, you're like, that's a valiant effort. I mean, how could you not help this lady out?
Right.
But the question becomes then, what happens then? What happens
Right.
now?
Right.
So let me try and play the end. If it doesn't play well, then I'll stop. But let me just try again. And this. So she's coaching him on what to do.
Which is impressive that she can have her hand in that mouth and coach him.
And look at her other hand, she's just like chilling.
Right.
So she's coaching him on what to do. Yeah, I don't know if this is coming across.
I hear it, but
so-
I don't see it.
Unfortunately, that's not coming across. So basically, she coaches him to get her hand out,
Yeah.
and then I'll just take this off. She coaches him to get her hand out, and then the dude is on the gator,
Yeah.
and he's holding the gator's head shut,
Right.
assuming this man has never been on top of a gator before. He just thought,
Yeah.
let me buy these tickets on Groupon. This sounds like a good idea
Right.
for Johnny's 14th birthday.
To this place where there's a 8-foot wide hole in the wall, and I'm just right around the corner. That's it.
Everybody's just kind of peeking around like, look at that gator. I've never been this close before. Yeah, there's a reason. So then he mounts this gator, and I don't know what she's saying to him, but this gator starts thrashing around, and he's holding it shut. And then coaches him to get up and out of there. Somehow the gator's like, I'm done with you. You're done with me. Get out of here.
Yeah.
In that situation, what would you do if you're a bystander and you see this lady get bit and you're like front row? So like you're the first one to decide whether you are helping her or you're not helping her. What do you do?
Yeah. So I've never been in a situation with an animal like that before, but I think I would help. I think I would jump in, and I think my thought process would be, he's already got a hold of her, so my risk of biting is not high, right? He's not going to let go to then bite me coming in. That would be my first thought.
Right, at first. Yeah.
That gator wasn't huge either. Like, it was the size of the man. So I want to say I would jump on. I think I would. I think I've had enough moments in my life to where I can speak to my knee-jerk reaction, and that is what it would be. So like, I was at a restaurant one time. It's nothing to do with an animal. I was at a restaurant one time, and this waitress walked by, and she literally just stiff as a board, flat on her back, cracked her head on the concrete, started seizing right next to our table. And a lot of people just looked, right? I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was up and I was right in front of her. Like, I don't know what to do, but I'm here.
What do you need? What do you need me to do?
Right. And then somebody else came and we kind of just stopped her from shaking, essentially. And I've gotten in between dog fights too. So I've had two dogs come together, and I get right in the middle of it and I start kicking and pushing. So I'm not a freeze type of person. Never had a gator experience though. It's a big animal.
Right. And wouldn't you think? So my first thought was the same, that I would get in there, especially if I was right there and I could see this lady about to lose her arm.
Right.
And then you're like, yeah, I won't get bit. He's preoccupied. But that's what happened was he got onto the gator. She coached him on how to get her hand out. She's good. She's out of danger.
Right.
But now you're on this gator. So then, yeah, I mean, that's what I was wondering was, would you jump to that knowing, let's just say if you knew then that it would be one-on-one with you and the gator now,
Yeah.
would you go forward with it knowing that it'd be, now you're the idiot in the tank with the big gator.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think I mean, again, we're analyzing it from, behind a screen. In the
Sure.
moment, it might be
We
different,
have the
but
luxury of doing that.
I feel like, gator, right, almost all animals that I can think of, they're opportunists when it comes to attacking, right? Like most,
Mhm.
even hunting, they go for the easy prey. They're not going for the hard stuff, right?
Okay.
They want the least amount of. So I feel like the hand was an opportunity. The 200-pound guy in your back who's pinning you down is not opportunity. I feel like it is a mutual get away from each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Then the thing that I do know about gators is all of their strength is for the snap.
down, right?
And they have
Yeah,
very little strength on the open,
yeah,
which is why you can get away with a little strip of duct tape when you see people like showing them around and they're like,
yeah.
can't get open.
Which I feel
So
like if I was in there, maybe that would be what I'd be saying. Like, okay, you're free. You're telling me to jump off. Maybe let's bring a different zoo person in here and let's bungee the mouth while I'm
Yeah.
riding it, and then I'll jump off. Like, we have control now. Let's eliminate the danger before I hop off of it.
Yeah, but it was pretty clear that dude wanted to hop out of there pretty quick, which I
Yeah.
don't necessarily blame him.
Right. But
Um,
I think I would act. I think I would. I want to think I would, and I have a few occasions in my life that I would say, make me believe I would, but I'm never face to face with an animal that could actually really kill me easily like that thing.
for sure. But that screamed Groupon to me. That was a Groupon ticket.
Yeah.
For sure, they couldn't fill that. You
So
mentioned
you think you would do it, but your wife was angry when you said that, and did you rethink it? And now you think maybe you wouldn't?
it's not that she wouldn't agree that it had to be done, but her point would be like, why? There's a bunch of people there. Like if there were other men
Yeah.
in the situation that were making the same decision, capable men, she would probably be like, why? Why you? Just let
Right.
somebody else do it. But that's I don't know if she
Yeah.
would really
Well,
think that.
let somebody tougher do it. Why are you doing it?
No, let somebody who doesn't mean as much to me go risk it with this wild animal.
So, are you a person? So, I have a personality trait where, like, I get into a room, really anywhere. It can be smaller settings, but for the most part, I would say like a Sunday church service. Like 200 people or more. So, a church service, a high school concert, a big
Mhm.
concert. Do you get in those situations and like take a minute and know what you're gonna do if something goes down?
I do now. I didn't. I mean, I would have never done that before. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. I would, and even sometimes get in my head and like fantasize, like if this guy were to come up to me, you know what I mean? Like this is how I would react. Like,
Oh,
but
fuck.
yeah, I would say that at the very least, I take note of my exits.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's in a new place I've never been.
So I do it, and I've done it for a long time. Like I remember my wife and I went to a concert before we were even married. We were dating, and we were discussing this thing. And I was telling her like, yeah, we got exits here, here, and there. She's like, you're paying attention to that? I'm like, yeah. But what I tend to do, and it's probably the wrong thing to do in a moment, but I feel like, okay, that's what we're gonna do, but we're not gonna go where everybody else goes because that's where you get trampled. So we're gonna go the
Mhm.
other way. So they all, I try to think about what other people are gonna do, right? They're all gonna go for
Yeah.
that exit. We're gonna hop over some rows and then, go against the grain, and that's gonna, and I think about, I'm like, maybe that's is that the best idea? Or maybe we should just go to the closer exit and get out.
Yeah. Because what are the chances that all of those people run into that one place, knows the place better than you, and knows
Right.
the opposite way, has no way to get out,
Yeah. But like one thing, like one area I've always thought of, and I think I would do this, like a movie theater, right? I know there's exits behind the screen.
Yeah.
So I think instinctually people would go down and 180 back out the theater the way they came. And I've always made the mental note, if something happens, I'm straight out through the back of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the right play there.
Yeah. That one, I think that one's pretty easy because that's pretty much how, although I do think I remember like when those theater shootings happened, I'm pretty sure that those exits were barricaded, like
Oh, really?
in preparation of that.
I
So,
forgot
but
about those shootings. Yeah, that was a
yeah,
while ago.
it was like a Batman screening
Yeah.
or something. Yeah. So yeah, who knows? At the very least, it's probably not the worst thing to go where nobody is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because then obviously, if you were an opportunist, you would go where all the people are.
Right.
You mentioned that you have separated dogs fighting before.
Yeah.
I have learned. I want to hear if you know the same trick. Do you know the trick to get, like, if a dog is clamped down on another dog, let's just say somebody else's dog is clamped down on your dog and they can't control that. Do you know the trick to get them unclamped?
No, short of I just start beating on it. That would be my only trick.
Right. But then what if it's a tough dog? The trick here, the old thumb of the butt.
I don't
The
think
old, yep. You stick your thumb right up their butt, and so I'm told the dog will release because it's the least. Talk about the least expected thing. This
Yeah.
dog is expecting you to beat on it, and he's like, "All right, I can handle that." But whoa, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
I mean, that would be surprising, but I take issue that a dog could handle it. I feel like if I just went off on a dog as hard as I could, it would try to leave the situation.
I don't know. I mean, then you're risking it biting, letting go, and biting you.
Yeah.
I feel like, although it does kind of leave a little bit of it's a little weird if you try it and it doesn't work. What's going on? Hey, I was told.
This works. So my dad, so my parents own rental property. They have my entire life and before I was born. And he's got a story. He went to one of the houses that he owns. Some renter was in there, knocked on the door. I don't know what he was doing, collecting rent, doing something. And they had a pit bull in there that they weren't supposed to have. And the door got open and the pit bull attacked him. And he got his arm up to block it. And he said it got his arm. But like, if you've played tug of war with a dog, right? And when they don't like their grip, they re-grip, They'll,
Right, yeah.
and they'll bite again, right? And he said
Yeah.
that's what happened. So it didn't get him really tough. So the dog went to like readjust and bite. And my dad says that in that moment, just bam, right between the eyes.
Oh man.
And of course, it was enough the dog, ran away. But I feel
Yeah.
like a human, like a grown adult man, as hard as you can to a dog, that got to be a pretty big dog to not, be
Yeah.
fazed by that.
I agree. But what if here's the problem is the dog's gonna get a hold of my good punching arm, and then I got this noodle flailing over here because I have no, comparatively I don't have
Yeah.
equal strength. But I have heard if it's actually biting you, then to go like push into like its mouth.
Oh yeah, that's
'Cause
a
your
trick
instinct is
for
to pull.
people
Yeah.
too. If you've got
Really?
a person biting you, so my wife's special ed teacher. Sometimes
Yeah.
special education kids can get aggressive, right? And they'll bite and pull and scratch and all that stuff. And that's if you get bit, that's what they train. So if they bite you on like your forearm or something, you push into their mouth
Right.
because then it's like, I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend the old thumb up the bum with special ed kids or any kids in general. I would not recommend
Look,
that.
I've wrestled my dog, and I know you've seen pictures of my dog, but he's a pit bull mixed with a mastiff. So he's a bull mastiff mixed with black lab. So he's about 70-ish pounds, block of muscle. I've wrestled him. His favorite thing is tug of war. It's his favorite thing in the world. So we do tug of war, and then every once in a while, I'll turn it into like, I'll pull him across me and I'll try to hook around him, and he hates that. Like, he does not want to be, locked in. So I'll turn into wrestling sometimes, and I'll work at him, and I'll try to, push him down with my shoulder and pin him down. And like, for the most part, I can do it. But there's been a couple of times where he was like, I don't want that. And he fought a little bit harder than I'm used to. And the thought crossed my mind, like, I don't know what percent he's going, but if it's not 100% right now, I might not win this fight.
Yeah, that's a big dog. How much does he weigh?
He weighs like 75 pounds.
Yeah. That's a big enough dog to have. He's probably going around 40 to 50%.
Yeah. So I feel like that has given me pause to think maybe I'm not as, formidable as I think I am with these dogs, because I've like, man, I was everything I had to keep him like pinned down to the ground.
Yeah.
But
all right, so we haven't talked since a certain event happened. So I wanted to get into some absolute. All right. So you still like
I love all the intros.
Yeah. So this has been talked over quite a bit in the last few weeks. This whole billionaire submarine thing.
Oh yeah.
So I don't understand. Like, I get the whole, I have so much money, let me do unique things.
Yeah.
I get that.
Right.
But I don't understand the whole lure of, even before this whole thing of people wanting to get in a submarine in this little dinky thing where you can't go pee, you can't get out for, 24 hours, you're bolted in, to go view on this little
right.
5x5 window of a ship that is decaying. When you have plenty of video, and you can even grab a VR headset, just I've been to the pyramids. I've been,
right? Me too, through them.
Yeah, and I've been to Stonehenge, like with my VR headset. We don't need to be in a little metal bubble. Like, absolutely not.
Yeah. So I'm an absolutely not as well. And I've given it thought. When it all went down, I've discussed it. You're not the first person I've discussed this with. So I've had multiple conversations around this. I've given it thought. It's an absolutely not for me. But before we get into the why, I'm curious. Would you do either? And if you had to do one, what would you do first? Submarine or spaceship? Would you do either? And if the answer is no, you wouldn't do either, fine. But then which one would you do if you had to do one?
I would do spaceship over submarine, because you have way more money and way more I don't want to say science, but way more research and way more history of trying to get to space and having sustainable life in space.
Do we
the amount of people that have been able to
think about when we went to the moon, and think about when we had submarines.
Yeah, we went to the moon in the 60s, but I'm talking about little the submarines that we had in, like, whenever we had our first submarine, like for the military, they aren't going down incredibly deep. They're not going down 3,000 feet or whatever, 6,000 feet. They were just going down to be undetected from the surface.
Right.
So I feel like that's way different. So which submarine are you talking about? Are you talking about ones that just kind of go below the surface, or ones that go way down deep?
Yeah, the one that imploded. You're going way down. You're going way down, or you're going way up in the space. What would you do? You would do space?
So I wouldn't do either. Like, just say Richard Branson said, "Hey, we're taking a a rocket up to the moon." I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't go with Ocean Gate down to the depths of the ocean.
Me either.
I'm not following a billionaire to one of their harebrained schemes.
Yeah.
Now, if this is a commercial rocket to the moon or whatever that happens in 30 years that they've been doing for, over and
Right.
over again, and it's a proven method, then
Right.
I'd be more likely to do that.
So I would not do either, and I would not. But if you made me do one, I feel like the knee jerk reaction is like you said, space. It seems less scary, and I would
Mhm.
say if you think about likelihood of death, I think space is a less likelihood of death. So I'd probably lean to space as well. However, if it's gonna go bad in either place, I think I'd want to be on the sub
Because it's instant and you're
because
dead.
it's instant. Space,
Yeah.
like a big fear would be just like floating for a while, right? You're
Like if
not
you
gonna
were in the
die
stew.
instantly. You're just gonna be up there knowing you're gonna die.
Yep. Did you ever see the movie Gravity?
Yes, that's a huge fear. She just floats away.
Just floats away.
Just floats away, gone. Nothing
Yep.
you can do.
There to live another. I don't know how much air he had. Let's just say he had enough air. You're just there until you die of thirst.
Right.
You're just out there until you die of thirst.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Terrible.
cold.
Terrible
I
idea.
guess. Could be cold.
But yeah, I mean, so I feel like if you go lost in either place, you're gonna die. Because I mean, the ocean's huge, right? If the thing gets lost, it's gone forever. Just like in space, if it gets lost, it's gone forever. So I guess
I feel
if
like
you
it would
just
be a lot harder to get lost. Like if you're in a ship and all of a sudden you lost like the ability to communicate where you were. I feel like we've got so many eyes on so many telescopes looking into the skies or towards the moon or wherever you could be, and so many tools to find you. But the ocean, we just don't. Literally, they were using like sonar and they said that they were
right.
tapping SOS on the side of the sub, which
Yeah,
was
I
complete
saw
BS.
that.
What
Complete
happened?
BS. Like, how'd they think that? Like, what was the tapping though? Then I saw that too. So he's
I
just
don't
making
know
stuff
because
up.
they were dead like 4 hours into the descent.
Yeah.
So
So I saw something today though that some submarine expert has come out, right? And this is TikTok news, so we take it with a grain of salt, right? But
mhm.
some submarine expert came out and it had an article, and I saw the article, and he says that he believes that there's evidence that uh, they died instantly. It still imploded, but that they knew it was coming, and that they would have had about like 70 to 90 seconds of essentially free falling down the ocean until they finally got to a depth of, you
Oh,
know, boom, implosion. And he said it was like, yeah, I think like a rock, like a elongated oval rock. It doesn't fall horizontal; it falls up and down. So
hmm
you got the submarine up and down, which means all 5 people are stacked up at the bottom of it. Poor guy on the very bottom of it, 800 pounds on top of him, as it falls for 90 seconds until it finally, crunches them.
And then all the
Terrible.
science I heard about it was that they basically were vaporized, but
Yeah.
then they brought it up and said that there were remains. So I don't even know who to listen to when it comes to it. All I know is that this is one big fat absolutely not for me.
Yeah, I would never. I would never. There's no chance I'm getting into a sub. If I joined the military, I couldn't join the Navy. Like I could not risk getting on a sub because that freaks me out. It's the idea of like I can't get off,
hmm
right? Like if I can't get off, it's a non-starter for me because I'm not afraid of the water at all. I scuba dive, I snorkel, doesn't scare me at all. But like my thought process is always I got down there on my own. I can
Yeah,
always back to where I started on my own,
right.
right? In the sub, you're stuck. Couldn't do it.
hmm
Could
It was
never
pretty
do it.
amazing how many people legitimately thought megalodon took them because some people were like tracking sharks and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and then people were like, "Well, it's clearly a giant squid. There's giant
I
squid in
mean,
the ocean."
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's obviously not a megalodon because we all know the megalodon lives under the false bottom ocean floor, where then it becomes warm water and there's
oh,
volcanoes and Godzilla is his neighbor down there. Like we
okay,
all
so
know that.
you're right. I should have been up to speed with that. But yeah, I mean, it just gets so crazy. And then, people are starting to, we're starting to do all their crazy theories just for like TikTok views and things.
Yeah.
It's clear if you or I ever get to $1 billion, nobody gives a damn about us. Like there
No.
was nobody, so many people were like just immediately posting memes. I'm like,
Oh, and they were good. I mean, the meme with the SNL skit where um he's like dancing. Oh, what is it? I forget. But it's a clip from SNL, and it's
mhm.
where I forget the guy's name. He's a staple on SNL, but he acts like a robot, like a
Mm.
whatever. But they were super funny. I mean, they were good memes. I laughed at a lot of them.
They were good memes, but just goes to show that when you become a billionaire, people, especially if they're not other billionaires, they really don't care about your life.
Yeah, and
What was that bit about they used an actual like Logitech gaming controller?
yeah,
Like, what
that's
are
how
we
they
doing?
controlled the sub with
That's
3D
insane.
printed joystick extensions because you got to get a little bit more, height for your thumbs.
They couldn't get a deal from any of the controller brands. Like Scuff couldn't have just given them
Right.
like a cool brand if they would have known how much publicity they got. Although I
Yeah.
did see that Logitech pulled the controller from their site.
Did they? Yeah,
Mm.
they used the Logitech controller and then they 3D printed little caps for the joysticks that went into like a tall like pull. And I guess the idea was that
So
you
like this?
no with your fingertips, so you grabbed them and that's how he controlled it. And my first thought was, dude's clearly not a gamer because you give me joystick thumbs, I'm in and out of that Titanic like smooth as butter. But this with my finger and thumb, like I'm all over the place. Two thumbs,
Oh,
I'd be zipping around there.
can you imagine how terrible that look sensitivity would be on that sub? And not
I'm going up.
adjustable. Yeah, that would be
Okay.
that would be brutal. In about a half hour, we'll be where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So okay, got another one. That's just a cheap excuse to use the video. It doesn't fit the best. But all right, so it came to my attention that my wife and I do something completely different, and I wanted to see how you do it. And I think I have my idea, but
We gotta put a explicit rating on this one.
it's not explicit.
You
No.
wanna see how we do it?
Yeah. So, all right. So, how do you wipe your ass?
Okay.
Not do you? Let me clarify, because obviously you use toilet paper, probably, unless you
Yeah.
have a bidet. Do you have a bidet?
I do have a bidet, but I don't
Nice.
use it. I used it once. It was not a pleasant experience. We can get into that too.
I'll try anything once, even a bidet. Okay, so then, do you stand to wipe, or do you sit and wipe?
Sit.
You're a sit and wiper. It's come to my attention that either side of the fence you are on, you can't believe that other people do it a different way.
I mean, yes, I know that that's true, but there is a correct way to do it, and it's the way I do it. Because
I don't expect you to think any other way.
because I know what happens to my butt cheeks when I stand up.
Okay, so I've heard
They
this
come
argument.
together. Everyone's does.
I've heard this argument. First of all, you don't know my butt cheek. Second of all, so I am a stander, but it is not a stand straight up. It's not I'm getting up. It's kind of like it's like a half stand squat.
Why though?
Because so my thing is, and this may
Makes
have
no sense.
I don't know why nobody taught me. Like I was just a feral cat out here wiping my ass, and it just happened. It's just how it worked that way, and I've done it my entire life. I don't like having my hand in or around the toilet seat or in, I like to have way more control about how my hand, because I think my picture of how you're wiping is all like you're all up down in the toilet bowl with your hand with the toilet paper.
Yeah. So no, my like the toilet bowl seat plane, my
Hmm.
hand never crosses the plane.
So you
It's
tilt
never
to the
in the
side.
bowl. I'm
Are you
lean.
going?
I lean. Now what I will say is the only thing that's worse than standing and wiping is people that wipe sitting down and they go from the front between their legs. That's lunacy. That's
Well,
chaos.
I asked my wife, and that's how she does it. She goes, well, because women can't go back to front.
Women are different.
Women are different. We agree with that. But so okay, here's your butt cheek logic used against you. When you lean, gravity can push
No.
your butt cheek
No.
down. Yeah.
No, and I'm going to explain why. So when
Okay.
I lean, so you're sitting there, you lean, I lean to the left 'cause I'm right-handed. So I lean to the left and it's a healthy lean and your butt cheek is getting picked up. But here's the key. The left butt cheek has to stay connected to the seat. So then as you lean, it naturally pulls the cheeks apart. Because the left butt cheek's trying to follow, but it's stuck to the seat and it can't
Okay.
because you're leaning on it.
All right. So, but the way that I stand, and the way that people do it when they stand, they don't stand straight up. Yes, your butt cheeks. If you stood up straight, your butt cheeks would be like, "This isn't happening. This is becoming 10 times messier."
Right.
But if you stand and squat a little bit, numero uno, you get a little quad workout. Number two, you're squatting still, and your butt cheeks have not gotten to, from point A to point B yet.
Yeah.
They're more in like
So
A in the middle.
I actually feel like we probably are in very similar positions. It's just you have chosen to essentially do like, a wall sit with no wall and, strain your quads. And I'm just, why do I want to do that? I don't need to work out when I, get up.
I've been doing it my whole life, so my quads do not strain. But if you were to pick up this tactic right now, you would strain your quads.
Let's strain my quads, but
Just like I feel like I would
lean.
give if I did pull up this tactic now and I started to lean, I might give myself a Charlie horse in the side of my leg or my butt cheek or something like that. I don't recommend whatever you do. I don't recommend trying the other at this point in your life.
Yeah, you gotta stay with what you're with. Do you crumple or do you wrap or do you fold?
I am a crumpler.
Yeah.
I've talked to my wife about this. She is appalled by that. She's like, "You must use so much toilet paper."
Yeah, I agree with her. Yep.
So
I'm gonna hear you out before I make judgment.
yeah, so hear me out. Number one, I feel like her and I use the same amount of toilet paper because women use toilet paper when they pee just to wipe themselves.
Yeah.
So I think if we were to get into a toilet paper war, it would be very much more equal than she thinks. But I'm a crumpler because it's kind of the same idea of I don't want to get my hand anywhere close to like toilet seat area. The crumpling, and it's not a willy-nilly crumple. It's not chaos. It's an exact science. It's kind of like it's not there's equal amounts of crumple. If you get it right, you get like this sort of squashed sphere that's equal amount of toilet paper all the way around. And it gives me about a good 1 to 2 inches of space from ground zero to my hand. And it makes me comfortable that I'm not going to, get anything on my hands. And I've never gotten, that it's a good method because it clearly works. I do yield to the fact that I probably use a few more squares than what the
folder uses.
I don't know, the government wants you to use.
So,
but
my concern is not toilet paper usage. I don't regulate toilet paper usage in my house. That's not my concern. I have one question for you. In the years that you've crumpled, have you ever crumpled, wiped, thrown it into the toilet, and then looked at your hand and realized you got poop on your fingers? Because when you grabbed the crumple, it wasn't crumpled just right, and then when you put pressure to wipe, your finger found its way through the hole, and all of a sudden you're touching poop.
No,
That's my fear.
it
That's why I layer, because that way I know I can't push through. If I crumpled, I would worry that like I'd find a weak spot.
Okay, so how many times do you layer?
So I don't do the around the hand. I don't do
Right.
that.
I think that's a waste because you don't need to
I-
guard the vacuum.
I pull off, and I probably pull off like 4 or 5 pieces, and I almost like accordion it in my hand, and then it's in my hand, and it's substantially bigger, than my hand is. And then I wipe, and then I can fold if I feel like I need to fold, and then, got a little versatility there. With like crumpling too, like, is there any folding happening? Because I've crumpled, and the problem with crumpling too is like you crumple, you wipe, you try to like fold it, and then all of a sudden, and you expose it on the backside. So I feel like there's no like folding and going again. It's fresh toilet paper every time.
So that's where the sacrifice to the toilet paper comes in. There is no double wipe with a crumple.
Right.
You wipe with extreme confidence that you can put as much force as you need to without anything ripping or tearing your fingers poking through. And if you need more, you crumple again. And I'm not afraid to say that.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say that I sometimes have to use 2 or 3 crumples.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
Yeah. So I'm usually a 1 to 2 pull off and fold, because sometimes I can get it done with a use and a fold, but then sometimes you still need a third, and then you were probably equal, at that point.
Right. Yeah. So to summarize, you lean and accordion.
Yeah.
And I stand and crumple.
Yeah. I mean, one of us has better hygiene.
I mean, so far in this episode, I talked about my greasy head and the fact that I crumple toilet paper. So I don't know. You be the judge, I suppose.
So my house has a bidet in it. Just my master bathroom. It's an old school bidet. So I think I've told you, my toilet is in its own room inside of my bathroom. And it's not just like a small room. Like, you open the door to the toilet room, and it's probably, 6 feet wide by 5 feet deep. There's cabinets above the toilet for your, storage and stuff. It's a large area inside my bathroom, and there's the toilet sitting on one side, and right next to it is a bidet sitting there. I've never used a bidet before I moved to this house. Okay. So I thought, I got to try this. Okay. First thing I noticed is this particular bidet, there's no seat cover. Like it looks like a toilet without the toilet seat on it. It's thin.
Yeah.
It's skinny.
That's what I was picturing. Yeah.
And I think that's normal, right? And then in the center of it, there is this little like shower head. It's about, it's like, a little bit and a quarter, and it's got all little holes in it, and it sprays water straight up like a shower head sprays down, and then there's a regular drain.
Right.
And the same bidet, the way that it has water to it, it's just like the toilet. It just has water lines from the wall to it, and then there's 2 handles on it, just like a sink, hot and a cold. So you set your temperature, where I feel like newer bidets, they hook up to the one cold water line, and then they like instant heat through an electric element. That's like the new ones, right? But this one just uses the hot water from my hot water heater mixed with the cold water, so you make the temperature the right temperature.
Right.
That was the failure point. So
because it's going to take a while, right?
That's where it all went south for me. So I turn it on and I touch it. I'm like, okay, that's a good temperature. First time using this. There's no toilet paper on the bidet side either. So
yeah.
I don't know. My thought was, you sit on it for a few seconds, you get maybe the bigger particles off, but you don't just get up and walk away. You still got to wipe, right?
Yeah, you got to think ahead and bring toilet paper with you in that case.
So that was weird too. So then I got, so then you wipe, but then the bidet doesn't flush. So then you got to put the toilet paper in the toilet next to you. There is a towel rack next to the bidet though. So I'm like, are you supposed to use a towel? That seems gross. Like a one-time use. Well, anyway, I didn't know how to do it. So I'm trying to figure out, and I turn it on and I touch it and I think it's a good temperature and I sit down on it and it starts spraying me. And it was fine. It wasn't, it wasn't overly hard. I could have used more pressure, to be honest. I feel like if I need a little bit more, power washer going on down there, because I felt like this is just wetting the poop in me or on me. I'm gonna end up smearing it. Like there's no particles falling. It's just making it wetter. Well,
yeah.
I'm thinking about this as I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden the hot water comes.
Oh,
and I was not at full temp yet. And all of a sudden, it's just scalding hot water blasting me. And I panic. I immediately panic. I don't know what to do, because if I get up, I'm going to drip everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't know if I can get up. I tried to slide back from the water.
No.
It hit my ball sack, and then it came up out of the thing in front of me.
Oh, man.
So I'm like, I'm trying to get out of the water, but I don't want to drip everywhere, so I slide back. That was wrong. So then it hits my nuts, and I pop up, and then I try to transfer back to the toilet.
and by this time, you're wet and slippery.
Yeah. So I'm dripping as I come over to the toilet, and I sit back on the toilet, and then I gotta dry myself off, and it was a huge mess, and I haven't sat on it since. It has scarred me forever. I don't think I'll ever sit on that bidet again.
So I think I would be more likely to sit on one of those than to use one of those attachments on someone's toilet.
I would never use someone else's.
Right. But I mean, I guess I didn't necessarily mean someone else's, but even if I had one, I would be. So you spray, I'm no physicist, but you spray water up to my ass. My poop is stuck to my butt, and you're spraying it off with this wand.
Yeah.
And then when it becomes precipitant, it's coming down onto the wand. Am I wrong about that? Like, and then you got to hook that. And then you got to hook that wand back on the toilet and go about your day. Like,
I mean, it could, but I think it's the angle of attack, right? So the wand has power. So I feel like a wand. I guess the question is, you going under? My instinct would go from behind, like I do wiping, and
right.
So if my butthole is here, it's kind of at a downward angle, right? The wand's coming in straight at it, and the water is using gravity to come down.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my thought.
Yeah. There are so many question marks that it's just, I don't know. I don't know. And I would have to maybe I'm getting it all wrong. Maybe there's some sort of video out there and I watch it and I go, oh, but as of right now, I just think it's a huge logistical nightmare.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a disaster. And
knowing that you had a towel rack there, like the original owners built in, makes me think that when you get good enough at the bidet, that's all you need. It's a little hand towel.
Yeah, I guess you sit there long enough until. But how do you know until you wipe? And then if you're not clean yet, there goes that one-time use towel. You gotta go wash it.
You put a mirror or a GoPro down there or something. Like, how are we supposed to know exactly? Yeah. But that's the thing, is then that wipe, I would think that it's got to be toilet paper.
Maybe you don't wipe. Maybe we're thinking about it wrong, and you just air dry. Like, you think about when you shower, right? Do you get like in between your cheeks and really rub your butthole with the towel to make sure it's dry? I don't.
I think I'm inconsistent. Maybe I sometimes do, and maybe I sometimes don't.
You know, I dry the butt cheeks, but like I don't
Yeah.
floss my butt crack. You know,
You're right about that. I do get my frontal crevices,
right?
but not my butt. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. I would I'd
And if
be
it's
much
warm,
more on board with a bidet if Dyson had an attachment right next to it where you could just you get it's like a car wash. You go through, okay, let me
right?
get the main dirt out, and then it sprays me, and then you hop on the dryer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
But so
Tackling the hard issues around here.
but my bidet is gonna be there forever because, like I said, this room is huge. So if I take the bidet out, I just got an empty space in this toilet room within my
Mhm.
bathroom. It's really bizarre. I mean, it's not bizarre,
Does your
but
wi-
like, what do you do with it? It's just got to sit there.
does your wife use the bidet?
I don't think she has used it. No,
Yeah, I think
I was the first
my
one to
big
use
issue
it.
there. Yeah, if it was on and warm water and you could like literally push a button and be like, all right, that's the temperature I'm going to be getting. So
Yeah,
I have a little bit of guarantee, then I'd be more likely to do it. But yeah, I don't
yeah.
want any surprise piping hot water being, old faithfuling my butt and balls and
Right.
making you scramble like that. I
It
don't
was
think so.
warm. Yeah, it was warm. I panicked, but
I don't ever want to picture you like in a bathroom setting, but in this case I did, and it was making me laugh pretty good. So
it's it was almost like the scene of Dumb and Dumberer with the
hmm
poop. Like
yeah.
water was everywhere. Like I didn't know.
There's
Thankfully,
shit on the walls.
it was mostly clean water though, because it was once I got off of it, it was just spraying up.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
but
that's us here on Bear Noggin tackling the hard issues, right? This is us. These are things that people think about, nobody wants to talk about.
yeah,
I think that's it for today.
yep.
But don't forget to like, subscribe, give us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I think Amazon Podcasts, and hop on our YouTube because we're live every Monday
Yeah.
night now going forward.
Leave us a comment on YouTube. Do you use a bidet or not?
Yes, and
For or against bidets?
and are we missing something?
Right,
Because I feel like we're missing something.
right. We're missing the
Like
boat.
some rich person out there is like, no, they clearly they're not worthy of a bidet, you know.
They're clearly poor, and it's showing.
Well, they don't come from bidet money. Oh, and then maybe next week we'll have. Usually we've been reading our Wet Hot Allosaurus Summer
Yeah.
summer reading, our book review, but this week we didn't get into it. But next week maybe we will.
Chapter 3, right? That we're on.
Chapter 3. We'll see
Chapter
what
3.
Tanis and Big Al are up to. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. But until then, we'll see you next week.
See you later.
See ya.
Are we still?
It should have ended.
I don't think it did. It said still recording.
It said play outro and end stream.